Welcome to The Clever Angle, the podcast where you get job shadowing experience without the job shadowing. I'm your host, Tevin McGee, and each week I'll bring you a different career field and give you a roadmap of how to get there. So without further ado, let's jump into the show. Welcome to the Clever Angle podcast. Today we have fashion wardrobe stylist Hannah Morehart, and she's going to be giving us the ins and outs of being in the fashion industry in New York City. Welcome to the show, Hannah.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Okay, so what is your favorite part about living in New York?
Oh gosh, I've been there now for 5 years and there are so many things that have kept me there. But I would say overall, there's like two main things that stick out. It's the energy of the city and the people that live there. So everyone who lives there, they're so different, but we're all there kind of for the same reason. Like we've stepped out of our comfort zones. We're really interested in becoming something, whether that's success, making an impression on the world. You can kind of do anything, you can go after anything in the city. And there's just something special about living there and being surrounded by people that you don't know, but you kind of have that same goal in mind.
Yeah. So before we talk about the destination, we got to talk about the journey. Like, what
Yeah.
led you to want to pursue fashion in college, and how did you ultimately get to New York City?
Yeah. So taking it back to high school, I mean, destiny was my right hand. So you can only imagine it was very busy and there was never a dull moment. No, I love my family, super close knit family. But in high school, I was super busy. So big soccer player, grew up playing soccer, did it pretty heavily in high school, was on the dance team with Destiny, and then very social. So I loved school, but more for the social aspect. I don't think I was a bad student, but definitely liked walking down the halls to to talk more than to get to the next class. But so to get to the fashion industry, I grew up from a young age. I'd learned to sew from my grandmother, and that really stuck with me. And growing up with that being instilled in you and being around fabrications and clothes and all of that, it just really like sparked this energy in me. And I never really found something that intrigued me and excited me more. So pursued that.
Yeah. So what was your time like at U of A?
Yeah. So the degree in Arkansas, University of Arkansas in Fayetteville is where I went for 4 years. And the degree is actually super unique, but really awesome. So when I was in college, once again, loved kind of like socializing and having as much fun, but also very busy. I didn't go the route of Greek life in the busy way, but that my first year, so my freshman year, I decided to start my own company. And I made custom denim shorts, upcycled them from Levi's denim. So stuff that had been thrown away or donated, and kind of upcycling it and making it new and customize it for different people, shapes, body types. So that kept me super busy.
How do you even
Um,
go about making like shorts? I know you said you learned how to sew, but I don't even know how to like. How do you? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's to someone who has grown up sewing, I thought it was really simple, but it's shocking that a lot of people have asked me that. I think it's more getting down to first you have to start with like sizing someone in the denim, like the full jeans, and then based on how they like them to fit them, you pick out the actual pants, and then talk about like design detail. How short do you want? How long do you want? How do you want them to fit you on the legs? And then I just straight up cut those bad boys off the legs and just recycled those. Goodbye, we're done with those. And then from there, you just design it out. So I did everything from like distressing to bleaching to the huge trend of tie dyeing right now. I would sew different things on them. So leather, fabric, lace, anything and everything. It was really fun, and it kept my creative wheels turning nonstop.
Yeah. So what was your goal when you set out to like start this company?
Yeah, I didn't really have a goal, to be honest with you. I've always just kind of been that person. If I have an idea that excites me, I just kind of run at it and then see what happens. And so, I mean, it was definitely helpful. I started selling in some boutiques alongside just selling one-on-one to people. So financially, it was a great thing, especially in college, helping pay for that. But goal wise, I mean, I don't do it full time, obviously, and we'll get to that. But just having fun and making people feel good was my main goal. And if I could make money and sew and build up my resume from there and learn how to run a business, yeah, that was pretty solid.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna have you make me some jeans next time I see you
Let's do it. Let's do it.
what did your internship in college look like, and how do you think it prepared you for going to New York?
For sure. So we'll probably get to this, but like long-term goal, I would love to have my own company, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so I learned kind of like the creative side of design and sewing, but felt the need to kind of like know the business part of it. So internship wise, I wanted to go into buying, which is more of like the business and math side of the apparel industry. So just straight up looked for companies, big corporations, big brands in New York City. I knew that I wanted to be there eventually, and just applied, interviewed, and figured out how to get there. So my internship was in New York City for Ross Stores. It's an off-price retailer similar to TJ Maxx. And I was in their buying program. So learning everything from forecasting. Okay, you have $1,000. How many units of what do you buy? Where do you allocate that? What stores? X, Y, and Z. To watching trends and seeing what to buy when. And that was pretty cool. So how I got to New York from that specific internship was the summer before my senior year of college. And at the end, you did a big project, and from that project, you were able to get a job offer full time after you graduated. So I was very lucky to get that job offer. And so right after I graduated college, I think it was, oh gosh, a week or two maybe, made the move up to New York and have been there ever since.
Wow. So that certain internship, it guaranteed you a job?
Um, I think that you had like a pretty good you were able to get a job from it is what I could say.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not everyone got jobs, but that you kind of learned throughout the summer different skills within that buying world. And at the very end of the summer, kind of like a final project, you had a big project that you would present in front of directors and VPs and everything like that. And from there, and obviously throughout your performance over the summer, you could get a job offer.
Take me through
Yeah.
what your first day and first year looked like. So you moved from Northwest Arkansas, nice part of
Yep.
Arkansas, and now you're in New York. Go.
Okay, so I was lucky that during my summer internship, I was able to really explore, make connections, meet a lot of people who either already lived there in the city or were moving back around the same time. So moving to New York I was very, very lucky that it was a smooth transition. I love the city. My first year, I would say, is probably, if I could think of one word, adventurous. When you move to New York, who knows if you're going to live there for a year or 100 years. I wanted to take advantage of being in New York City. So didn't really allow myself to say no to a lot of things, which looking back, super, super glad that I did that. Work wise, I mean, it's scary. Like starting a new job, whether you're familiar with the company and the position or not, it's a huge life transition. First job, not around my family, it was pretty crazy. Um, Overall, first day, kind of like a normal intro, but other than that, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It was a good experience and really set me up for what life as an adult was about to look like.
Yeah. So take us through what your first job was like and what you did.
Yeah, so I was an assistant buyer for Ross where I'd interned. And the job as an assistant buyer is really to partner with the buyer of specific areas within the company and just kind of shadow them, learn about the business, and really break down. Each buyer has a specific, like, budgeted amount of money for all of their stores. And you focus on teaming up with like the trend forecasting team and all of that. And you work with different vendors and different brands who produce the actual goods. And you kind of make deals, cut deals, and create an assortment of product to sell at the stores. So dealing with a lot of spreadsheets, which I learned Excel is not my strong point. Let me tell you, don't ever ask me to build out an Excel spreadsheet. But really kind of breaking down the money side of business in general really shaped and formed a side of my brain that I didn't know was there. So that's good.
Yeah. So what company was that, and how long did you stay at that job?
Yeah, so funny story. It was at Ross Stores where I had interned. So once again, that's an off-price retailer, similar to a TJ Maxx. And I was only there for 6 months before I transitioned into my current job, which is I thought a little taboo. Um, so was there for 6 months and then enter in Trunk Club where I currently am.
Okay, yeah. So take us through your current job. What's Trunk Club like? I have a little bit of experience there.
Yeah,
When me and Destiny first started dating, I got a Trunk Club, an assortment of clothes. But tell the listeners
yeah.
what that's like. And
Yeah, totally. So my specific title is senior wardrobe specialist. So what that means, I am a wardrobe stylist. So the short of it, I dress people. I work with men and women. I do everything from, and I have access to hundreds of brands. We're owned by Nordstrom Stores, which is a great partner because we have access to anything and everything that they sell, which is awesome. So like I said, men, women, um, anything to the likes of that. I do ready to wear, so I can dress you for special events. So, say it's your wedding, we can make you a custom suit. First day of work, you tell me what you're doing, and we can break down what you need to be wearing to look your best and all of that. Or if it's just like, hey, I'm moving somewhere new, or I have a first date, what in the world am I wearing? Like, this is my lifestyle. And we do that as well. So, really fun. I work with clients face to face. And then I also, kind of how you mentioned, you got a trunk club assortment. I have digital clients too, which is kind of funny because I feel like we have a long distance relationship. I've never met them in person unless it's on like FaceTime or the phone. But we get to know each other on kind of like almost like a texting platform and get to know them, really nail down their style, what they're looking for. And I send them a box of clothes, 10 items. You pay for what you keep, send back what you don't. So pretty cool that way as well. And then I also do custom clothing. So we have a custom team who does all of the measurements. We help you pick out different fabrications. We make anything from golf wear, belts, all the way to tuxedos, top coats, and everything in between.
yeah, so can you just tell us some of the other jobs in the fashion world that people might not know about?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there are so many. The fashion, in my opinion, is a very broad term, and there are a lot of different kind of like areas that you can go into at that. So many jobs. You can be a business owner if you want. You can have what that means, like you can have your own brand, company. You can even open a store, anything from big to small boutique to big box store. You can kind of how I was chatting about my Ross position. You can be a buyer for a brand. You can be a buyer for a big store, a company. You can be a designer in so many fields. You can do product development, which is developing the product and kind of sourcing the fabrication and the bells and whistles to a specific product. So you're working with manufacturers from all over the world, whether that's China, India, Japan. I mean, the list goes on. You can be a wardrobe stylist like I am, and you can work with kind of like your everyday consumer from a company like a Stitch Fix, a Trunk Club, all of those. Or you can style celebrities, you can style for TV shows, movies. I mean, that list goes on as well. And then you can also be a merchandiser. So you can visually merchandise stores, you can make them look pretty, essentially. You can be in the sales field, so you can be selling to different stores from the specific brand. I mean, you can do almost anything. You can twist it into the fashion world, which is really cool because it gives you a lot of variety to figure out what you want to do long term.
Yeah, I had no idea that there's that many jobs. I mean,
Yeah,
you
so many.
yeah, you went into detail on those. I really appreciate that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
have you got to meet anybody like famous or anything? Like, what's your coolest experience from working at Trunk Club and just in New York in general?
Yeah. I mean, New York, I everyone calls it kind of like the fashion capital. And so that in turn makes these like really cool experiences almost like not take for granted, but you don't realize how cool they are over time. But one of the really cool perks of my job, we have access to hundreds of brands, but we also are such a personal experience as stylists that we have great relationships with that actual brand. So we get to meet the creators of these brands, brands that you hear about all the time, like Theory, Rag and Bone, Vince, I mean, Diane von Furstenberg, Veronica Beard, all of these kind of higher end brands. So you meet these creators, you hear their stories, you're able to spend time with them. I think that is absolutely amazing. One of the coolest things I would say, oh, it was my first year in New York. And I was like, what in the world is going on? I had just started as a wardrobe stylist, trying to figure out what that even meant. And I would walk through all of the big stores like the Saks Fifth Avenue, Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus of the world, Barney's. And I would walk through and kind of get ideas and inspiration for different outfits and trends and all of that. I remember walking through Saks Fifth Avenue and I was like, there is a woman sitting on the actual display table trying on shoes. Like, what is going on? That is not normal. And that is a huge store. And they're pretty strict to keep things in line. And I'm like looking over and she's dressed so fabulously. And I'm like, okay, she's clearly someone. I probably don't know who she is. And I turn the corner to get closer and it's Diane von Furstenberg. And it if you don't know who that is, I mean, she is an incredible like fashion icon. She has a super successful brand. She invented the wrap dress for women, which is a super iconic style of dress, and she is just so cool. And I mean, fun fact, she was a British princess, like insane. And so, I mean, I'm just so obsessed with her. So I was pretty starstruck.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you get to do any traveling for your job?
So I think the traveling is pretty voluntary. It's not a lot of, hey, Hannah, you're going to LA to do this. I, in my job, have built my current book of business. And so we can travel for clients. If a client is wanting a custom tuxedo and like XYZ and custom, and he lives in Florida, we can arrange that. And, it's voluntary, but totally an option.
Yeah. So let's say I was job shadowing you for a day. What are some of the things that you would want to make sure that I know?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's hard because every day is so different. I think I would want you to really see like the on the job feel for it. So definitely like face to face client appointments. That's my absolute favorite part of the job. And what that is, it's a one on one styling appointment where you hang out, really get to know what they're looking for, and you just style them. I would pull a rack of clothing super curated for them and just teach them how to feel their best, how to look their best. And that would be my absolute number one.
Yeah. So what are some techniques that you use on the job to make them feel their best?
Yeah. I mean, for me, if anyone has ever met me, I can talk to a brick wall and sometimes I don't shut up. And so I think for me, I use that to really like make someone feel comfortable. I don't want to just dive into, okay, what are you looking for? Okay, cool. I'll go pull a blue blazer. It's more like, how's your family? Like, how's Destiny? How's your wife? Like, how are the girls? Did you guys go to, you know, California on your trip? Like, tell me about that. Okay, cool. Why are you coming to hang out with me today? Are you looking for specifics? Are we doing an update? And just like really hanging out and making them feel comfortable is my main thing. Even if they don't find anything that day that they're dying over and buy, I want them to at least have a good experience and have fun with me.
Yeah, using some of that southern charm down there in New York. I see.
There we go. There we go.
So, would you say that if you wanted to get into the fashion world, that you needed a 4-year degree, or are there other ways that you can get into the fashion world?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a huge advocate on education if you're able to have access to it. I think that what I learned in college has helped me, even though I haven't, you know, done a lot of retail buying or merchandising like a lot of my classes focused on. That's so valuable. And so if you're able to get a degree in some sense, even if it's a business degree or a finance degree or an art degree, anything like that, that's never going to hurt you. And you build so many connections through education. If you're not, or if that doesn't interest you, I mean, I would say just try to get as much experience as possible, whether that's working in a boutique or working with someone who's starting a brand or even building their own business in general. It doesn't even have to be a brand. Um, meeting as many people. One thing I've learned in New York City is building a network of connections of people who care about you and who want to help you and who are rooting for you. That is the biggest thing. I mean, I'm so thankful for the connections and the network that I have. And especially in an industry like fashion, it's great to have so many different types of connections to really know what directions you can go to make you ultimately successful and happy.
Yeah. So this is episode 8 of my podcast, and
Yeah.
I've really still been struggling with the imposter syndrome. Like, is that something that you struggle with being in the fashion industry?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think in some way, shape, or form, that's a natural thought. That's just kind of like a negative, a negative like glimpse into your mind. But oh, of course. I mean, there are definitely things. I've been doing my job for almost 5 years now, and so there's still things that I'm not 100% comfortable with that are kind of like out of my realm of like comfort. And so, yeah, absolutely. And I think even going back to hopefully one day having my own company, like that's a huge step, just like you're starting this podcast that's obviously going really well and it's so cool. And I admire you for that. And I think like starting your own company, that's crazy. Like you have so much potential, but then at the same for like success, but then you also have so much potential for failure. So just keeping your head down and really believing in what you're doing and also wanting to learn from it and take feedback to better yourself. That's kind of how I deal with that kind of thought of failure and scare of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, what would you tell someone if they were wanting to get into the fashion industry?
Message someone that you admire that you think can have a connection, or also hop on Google and go and look at like different brands online, different companies that you've heard of, even if it's like an Amazon of the world or Walmart or a brand that you've seen on Instagram. Just start somewhere. And if it's something that interests you, go to their website and there's always a careers page. Look and see what the jobs are that they even have. They always have different descriptions. Kind of write down anything that jumps out to you and start there. And then from there you can also, whether you're in a big city or a small town, there's got to be something that you can get that experience. Like always have experience. That's my biggest piece of advice. So start small and then don't overwhelm yourself. And just don't be afraid to reach out to people. Like I always tell someone, like whether it's a college student or someone who's reached out to me asking about New York or the fashion industry or my job, it's like don't be scared if you don't know me. Like you can still email me, you can still message me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. If you have my number, text me. People want to help you.
Yeah. So, everybody reach out to Hannah. She's going to be
Now
more
I'm
than.
gonna get like now don't post my cell phone number. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have
Yeah. We're going
200
to
text messages.
everybody text Hannah. We're going to have it in the show notes. But yeah, I think that's
Dead.
so awesome because in a lot of fields, it can be intimidating to reach out to somebody that's doing what
For
you want to
sure.
do. So I think that's awesome that you're just encouraging people to do that because
Yeah,
acting is a very hard step. And I feel like if you can just take action, you can do pretty much whatever you want to do.
for
So,
sure.
so
I also, yeah, going
no,
off of that, that's like a really great point too. I mean, don't get me wrong. You might reach out to 5 people, and even if just one person responds to you, the other four could be busy. Don't take it personally. Or if they don't want to help you, then take hold of someone who's really invested in you and who wants to help you. That one person. That's all it takes. So
Yeah,
just act, step out a little bit.
get out of your comfort zone. Hannah moved to New York. You don't have to do that, but just get
You
out of
don't have to, but if you do, I'll buy you coffee.
Okay, there you go. So that's worth the move right there. Okay, so what would you tell to someone that is thinking about moving to another city or another state for a career?
I mean, that's super exciting, and I'm excited for them. Um, it's it can be very overwhelming, and it can be scary not knowing a ton of people. One thing that helped me in New York, and almost every city I would say has some form of this now. There's an app that I use called Meetup, and you can go in and you can write down or like select some of your interests, and you can literally, it'll pull up free events around the city that you can just meet people. So I started there. But just don't be scared. Like, take hold of it, take long walks, and find some of your favorite places that you can start going, whether it's a coffee shop, a restaurant, a park. And just enjoy that time. Like, being able to move to a city or somewhere different and have that experience is is something to be thankful for. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. So just enjoy it. Don't let it scare you.
Have you ever considered moving away from New York to do fashion? Like, have you ever considered moving back to Arkansas or LA or Atlanta or anywhere to pursue fashion?
I mean, I absolutely love where I'm at. I love New York City. I feel like it's home now, which is kind of crazy to think about, but I'm always open to opportunity as well. I mean, if something pops up and it's really exciting and it would be a really great opportunity for me, if it's not New York, I'm not going to write it off. So yeah, I would be open. Also, like, most of my family is still in the South or in Arkansas specifically, and I love Northwest Arkansas. And so if I were to open my own company, like, that could be a conversation just to be close to my family. But who knows? I love New York right now.
Yeah, yeah. We still got to come up there and see you. I'm super excited about
Come
that.
on. I already have the itinerary planned
I
out.
know, I know. We were just talking about that. We were like, oh, I'm so sad. But
We're gonna make it happen.
yes, yes, I'm telling you, we're coming up there. We're gonna bring as many people with us as we can.
Come on, come
O-
on.
Okay, so how has this pandemic affected your work?
Yeah, so I'm very thankful that I still have a job and I'm able to work and have a form of income. It has changed it in a way of, I can't do my face-to-face consultations and styling appointments, obviously. So, and that's one of my favorite parts of the job. So that was for me a huge hit. But I'm also able to work through Zoom, through FaceTime, digitally with the trunks. We have awesome, awesome, like, platforms that we work out of. And so, yeah, I'm able to fully work from home. I've just had to be creative with ways to keep myself busy and keep in touch with everyone. But super thankful that I still am able to.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about what you do currently. What does the ladder
Mhm.
look like within your company?
So, kind of, will you expand on that for me? Like, what do you mean?
No, I'm saying just like what does moving up in your company look like?
Oh, the latter.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry, I misunderstood that. Yeah, so for stylists specifically, there are different layers that you can move up, like different tiers. From there, you can become a sales manager, like a stylist manager. So we're on different teams internally, just for support and collaboration. We all have our own books of business and clients, but there's a manager that supports about 10 to 20 of us. So you can become a manager, you can become a director on top of that, where you have a huge team under you to support. And then we have a head of office, Lindsay Cooperman. She's amazing, and she honestly just runs the little family of us, and it's really cool. Within the Nordstrom umbrella, we were acquired by Nordstrom, and internally of that, I mean, you have so much opportunity. You can stay in the styling world. You can um, go into the buying world, the merchandising world. I mean, the company that I'm in right now, thankfully, there's a lot of opportunity to pursue. So, but with my job specifically, you can go up that managerial ladder.
Yeah. So, what is it that you just love about your career field? Like, what do you love about fashion?
Oh, that's an easy one. I mean, I honestly just love being in a career where I can, give people the confidence and make them feel better in their own skin just by dressing them in different ways. You know, a lot of people don't think of it this way, but if you put on a good outfit, if you feel good, you're going to feel more confident. And whether that's going into a date night, whether that's walking down the street, starting a new job, getting married, anything and everything, if you look good, you feel good. I mean, that's just a fact. So if I'm able to get to know people and form those relationships and be that person that helps a little bit, um, that's awesome to me.
So, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
That is the question of the century that I have been thinking about all quarantine. Just sitting here thinking on my couch, currently in my parents' hammock. Well, okay, so in 5 years, man, I definitely see myself still within the industry. I would love to have my own company. And, I go back and forth. I have a lot of ideas that I write down all the time. I have this notebook and it looks crazy, let me tell you, because I write down stuff that doesn't make sense to anyone else. But I'm hoping that I'm looking back in 5 years and I've started a company, I've owned my own store or something of the likes, but definitely still in the world of fashion and retail.
Yeah. So, I'm really interested in like technology. Is there like
Yeah.
a place for technology in fashion?
Oh yeah.
What does that look
Oh
like?
yeah. So a lot of brands, obviously retail, anyone who reads up on retail, brick and mortar stores, freestanding stores, big box stores, a lot of those have been struggling for a long time. People are just changing the way that they shop. People's lives are getting busier. People aren't wanting to walk through malls. That's a good thing for a lot of people wanting to be in the tech industry within e-commerce and fashion. So what that means, a lot of brands have digital teams. So people who are working on the .com side, people who are working on the websites, styling the websites, I mean, all of that. You can also be a tech coder and physically build out a website. Like you can do anything on that side. On the other side, there are a lot of tech startups in that world who are kind of like a fashion e-commerce platform. So, I mean, New Order, there's one called Jour, there's one called Yachtco. There are a lot of these platforms that work with brands to, consolidate marketing, drive loyalty to different brands and build their customer base. They also have a lot of kind of like tech platform areas that are learning all about your customer and how to build your brand successfully. So, taking people's feedback off of Instagram, photos, reviews on the internet, and saying, okay, well, they don't like that white pant and no one thinks it fits well. Okay, let's dig into that and see how we can change that. What should we build next into the brand to have our customer happy and coming back? So a lot. I could
Yeah.
talk about that for a long time.
And we'd love to hear it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
where do you think the industry of fashion is going?
Well, I think definitely it's all about kind of like customizing and personalizing the experience. So people love experience. And a lot of people don't like taking an hour or two of their lives looking for clothes, shopping, trying on clothes. So if you can create an experience or customization around that, whether it's going into a store and like think of Nike for example. There are a few Nike flagships in New York City. You can walk in and if you have kids, they can go play on the consolidated basketball court on the fifth floor and shoot some hoops while you're looking around finding your husband a new running shoe. So stuff like that. You can also go in and they have at that same store the bottom floor. You can go in and take like the Nike Blazer shoe. You can get it customized to any fabrication, any color. You can put your names on the back, like anything like that to get the customer excited. So I think a lot of brands are going in that way. I also see a lot of fashion going more in kind of like the eco-friendly world, whether that's sustainability and doing closed loop production. That's kind of what Levi's, DL Denim, AG Denim, that goes all the way to like their production site where it's kind of like a one level production where they're not wasting a lot of water. They're using almost all of the fabric in the fabric roll and they're not throwing it away. Um, Take Everlane, for example. They're not really producing a ton of mass product. They started with a t-shirt and they're building a brand based off of what their customer wants next. So going in that world, like made in the USA, giving like fair trade production. So paying your workers a wage that they can live off of and going away from kind of like that sweatshop mass production fast fashion mentality. So a few different angles, but that's where I definitely see it going.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of off topic, but this is just like a personal question.
Yeah.
So I've got this podcast, and I've got one more podcast. If I was looking to like get some T-shirts slash merchandise, where would I look? Where would I start doing that?
Yeah, totally. So you always have to kind of nail down. There are some production sites and manufacturers who specialize in specific garments. So I would Google. You can easily find options this way, where you can Google small batch T-shirt manufacturers, and different manufacturers and production spaces will pull up, and I would call them. Like their stuff is right there, and I would say, "Hey, listen, my name's Tevin. I'm looking to start a T-shirt brand. I want to do 100% cotton or 5% jersey or whatever you're wanting. And I want to start with a batch of 200 T-shirts in black, white, and gray. What does that look like, and how much would that cost?" And I would just start there, like know your questions and Google it. I always say Google it.
No, it's okay. I'm writing all this down. I appreciate that information.
Absolutely.
So, first of all, you're definitely gonna have to take me to that Nike store that has the basketball goals
Oh,
for
that's on my
sure.
itinerary.
it,
That's
it,
on
it better be. It better be. I'm really
it is.
interested in seeing all that New York has to offer. So,
Heck
I
yeah.
just got a few more questions for you. So,
Yeah.
if I was someone that really didn't know what they wanted to do, how would you
hmm
sell me on the fashion industry?
Yeah. I mean, I would first ask you, are you driven by creativity? Does product excite you? What do you want to do long term? Are you wanting to own your own business? Do you shop a lot? Are you like, what do you look for when you are shopping? And just like give them a few different angles and see if any of that excites them. From there, I would just kind of break down, you can have fun, you can be creative, you can learn to hustle. That's a huge part of being in the fashion industry. It's super competitive. Um, and yeah, I would just tell them my favorite parts and start the conversation of what makes them excited and happy day to day, and kind of take it that way.
Yeah. So, what are some qualities that you would say that you need to succeed in the fashion industry?
Yeah, I would say definitely hustle. When you first start, fashion jobs don't start as like an editor of Vogue. You really have to start like at the bottom and work your way up. So you have to be hardworking. You have to be able to be receptive to feedback. I love feedback. It's hard to hear sometimes, but it definitely does better you. And I feel like when you're working with, a lot of the fashion industry is working with companies, and working with designers and owners and entrepreneurs, and they love to give feedback. um, and then I would just say, you've got to be competitive in some way. The fashion industry is definitely competitive. A lot of people want to work in it. Um, and there are a lot of jobs that people want. And so you just got to keep your head down and work hard, and don't take no for an answer. See how you can better yourself and get that next job.
Yeah. So, to recap here,
Yes.
if anyone has any questions about fashion, reach out to Hannah. We're gonna have her phone number on here. Uh,
Just don't call Exactly. I'm terrible at thinking up my phone.
No, I'm just kidding. But I really appreciate you sitting down with us. Is there any last words that you want to kind of get out there to the listeners that you think that people should know?
Yeah, I mean, going off of just all of this, I kind of said earlier, like I really admire you, Tevin, for stepping out and starting kind of like a fun passion project to grow into something that you really love. I see that happening, and I think anyone who has any dream of any sort, try it in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's, if you want to be a chef, start cooking, kind of experiment. If you want to start your own company, start talking to people to start that. Just start it. Just try.
Yeah, just do it. Just
Just
do it.
do it. There you go. Nike, just do it.
Yeah, well, Hannah, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's always
Thank you for
fun
having me.
catching up with you. Hopefully, we'll
Absolutely.
get to see you before you go back to New York. But if not,
I would love that.
yes, we are definitely going to come to New York. So we're going to see if the schedules can line up to where we can all make this happen. But thanks for coming on the show. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so this has been another episode of The Clever Angle. If you guys like what you hear, like, subscribe, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and everybody have a great day. Peace.